Hi, good morning, Year 12, and I hope you all had a really nice weekend after your first week at Finham Park Sixth Form. This is your first online assembly. For information, the majority of assemblies I do are remote. The reason is, firstly, it means you can be in your mentor room, so you can be in a smaller group in a more maybe comfortable, safe space. And secondly, I record them so that the information is there if we ever need to revisit it. So do know that this assembly is being recorded. This one is actually about study habits and starting strong. And so I might send this one home to your family so they can go through it with you as well. Right, firstly, I want to say a really, really big thank you. Last week, you were amazing. I've been doing this job for a long time, and I honestly think that this was the smoothest start to Year 12 we've had. You generally were all really, really punctual. You followed instructions. You were equipped for study. You're wearing your lanyards. I'm not having to argue with you about that. And as I said, that's not something I can argue with you about. So it's really nice that we're not having to have those conversations. You're all following the dress code really well. And thank you. I'm so excited to work with you over the next 2 years. And it's been such a really strong start. So thank you. You're amazing. And I'm just truly, truly proud of every single one of you. It's a really funny transition going from year 11 to year 12. It's the only transition where half of the year has been in this setting from year 7 to 11 and half of you haven't. When you start school, everyone's new. In fact, when you start nursery, everyone's new. When you start reception, everyone's new. When you start secondary school, everyone's new. When you go to university or college, when you're 18, everyone's new. It's the only transition where some people have been here, but kind of very different because main school is incredibly different to the sixth form, and some of you aren't. And it's been absolutely heartening seeing how those of you who've been at Finham before have been welcoming to our new students and how quickly you've settled in to be such a lovely year group. I'm so excited to see where this goes over the next 2 years. And as I said, you're just amazing and I'm incredibly proud of you. So thank you. A few reminders. I mentioned to you in Wednesday in your induction assembly that the silent study has to be silent. I've spoken to year 13 about this and I want to speak to you. Basically, the silent study has to be silent because we have a number of students in your year and the year above who either have maybe anxiety, they might have learning needs, or they might just want a silent space. And those people absolutely have a right to have a silent space to study in. We have lots of spaces. The cafe was pretty empty all of last week, so please don't tell me that there's no space to study. The cafe was pretty empty. The downstairs study centre was full, but there was space there. If you don't want to study silently, please don't go there. Generally, last week was amazing. I think there were 4 people I caught talking, and all of them are having a short-term ban. I just want to be clear with you that if you do talk in the silent study, I will ban you from that space, probably for 2 weeks. The reason is we have to treat you like adults now, and I'm not interested in first warning, second warning. You should all be able to manage yourselves such that if you want to speak, you don't go to the silent study area. So please just be absolutely aware, absolutely clear that if you're caught talking in the silent study space, you will be banned and you will get a letter home explaining that. Now, as I said, last week you were brilliant. I don't think it's going to be a problem, but if anyone does talk and they are banned, I don't want it to be a shock to them. Now, obviously it's not staffed. The reason for that is it's not a good use of someone's time sitting there policing people being silent. It's much better for us to spend our time having one-to-one conversations with you, mentoring you, supporting you. And so we have to take this harsh action. We do check in about every 20 to 30 minutes and we will catch you if you're talking. So study-wise, you should have plenty to do by now. You will all have had lessons. You will have all have been set some independent study. And so hopefully all of your study periods, you will be very gainfully employed doing your studying and your homework for those lessons. A quick reminder that you are welcome to use your mobile phones in the sixth form areas. So that's T block and the cafe. You can use your mobile phone appropriately in the sixth form space in the library, but you can't be using your mobile phone just wandering around site because the main school aren't allowed to use them. So the main school is a no phone zone. When you're in your classroom, if your teacher directs you to use a device, you can get your phone out, but please don't have it just sat on the desk. Okay, so please think carefully about your mobile phone usage and be respectful around sight of the no phone rules. There were a few of you last week who were just walking around carrying them, and I understand how easy that is to do. We've all done it, but please just pop them in your bags. Now, apologies, there was some confusion around the biometric scanning. It's because there was a problem with Bromcom, and the IT team couldn't get, Bromcom's our register system, they couldn't get on our register system to get you scanned, which is why there was a problem. That problem is still ongoing today. I've spoken to all the canteens and you will be allowed to get food today. I promise they'll write your names down. We will get your biometrics scanned. This is new students as soon as possible. We are just waiting for Bromcom, our register system, to be completely fixed. As soon as it is, I'll let you know, and we'll have a slot for you to all be scanned and get your thumbprints sorted. So I apologise, but please know there's nothing we can do about it. It is a problem that's external to the school with our register system, and it's a problem that actually pretty much every school in Coventry is having at the moment. So excuse me, I do apologise for that. We are working on it. Sorry. Right, Meet the Mentor. Meet the Mentor is on Thursday, the 18th of September, and it is from 3:45 until 5:15 p.m. This is an opportunity for your parents or carers to come into school. They get the chance to meet myself and Mr. Shepherd, and they'll get the chance to meet your mentor and have a one-to-one conversation with them if needed. Meet the Mentor there will be various sections to the event. There will be an opportunity for parents or carers to have like a big assembly type thing led by myself and Mr. Shepherd, where we'll go through lots of different aspects of the sixth form they'd want to know about. There'll be the opportunity for them to have a group conversation with your mentor, and then your mentor will have slots for some one-to-ones. They won't be able to see all of you one-to-one, but they'll have slots for some one-to-ones if there's a specific question that your parent or carer needs to ask them. If you have additional needs or you are a vulnerable student, your parents will have the opportunity for a one-to-one with Mrs. Hosking as well, possibly to follow up on conversations she may have had with them already over the summer. So please, we will be writing to your parents and carers about this, but attendance is very strongly recommended. Please make sure you talk to them about it. We recommend you come with your parents and carers so that you get the information as well. And just be mindful of that date. It is a week on Thursday, so it'll come around really, really quickly. Right, the rest of the assembly, I'm going to talk about independent study. So the cycle of independent learning, you will hear about this in every lesson. This is about this is our basic foundation for how we study in the sixth form. So after every lesson, you should be revisiting the lesson. I'm going to say at this point that when you get to the sixth form, there is a real difference in your studying and your homework from what you will have done in the main school. In the main school, you will have been set homework or revision, and that is all the studying you will have done outside the lesson. Some of you will have gone above and beyond, but it was not mandatory to do loads of independent study. In the sixth form, you will be set homework, but in addition, you will have to do independent study for every lesson. And I'm going to give you a bit of direction about what that should look like. So after every lesson, you should put aside 20 or 30 minutes to revisit that lesson. And you should do that for every single lesson. Once you've done that, and in a minute, I'm going to talk to you about what that looks like. Most of this assembly will be focused on what it looks like to revisit a lesson. You then use your resources. So your teachers will direct you to resources, independent study, they might direct you to background reading, different teachers will direct you to different things. You need to be using those resources. Once you've done all that, you need to test yourself. 2 years is a very long time to embed all of your subject knowledge in your brain at the end of year 13 for your exams. Now, if you don't start that now and keep on top of it, that's going to be very difficult for you in a year and a half's time. So throughout the sixth form, we recommend you regularly test yourself on the knowledge you have done, because there's a lot of evidence that testing yourself is one of the best ways to memorise material. So during your study periods, pair up with someone in your same lesson and take it in turns to test each other on what you'd learnt today, what you learnt last week, and then as time goes by, what you learnt last month, what you learnt 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Keep testing yourself. If you're ever sat there thinking, I've done my homework, I've revisited my lesson, I've been through all the resources, what do I do now? Test yourself. If you got anything wrong, you revise that, you retest yourself, and you update your personalised learning checklist. In every subject, you should have something like an exam specification or checklist. Update that. And then again, revisit and revise. And that cycle goes round and round. And in assemblies over the next half term, I'm going to focus in on each of those. Today, I'm going to talk to you specifically about revisiting the lesson. But over the next week, I still want you to be able to use your resources that teachers give you and test yourself. So after each lesson, expect to revisit it, and I want to see you starting that today. Hopefully this week you can spend some time revisiting the lessons you did last week as well to get yourself completely up to date. So, step 1, read your notes. Are they clear? Do you still understand them? We've all been in lessons that are going quite quickly, and A-level lessons and BTEC lessons in the sixth form do go quite quickly, where you might be scribbling notes really quickly. Do you understand them? Are they clear? If they're unclear, rewrite them while the lesson is fresh in your head. If you leave this to a couple of days' time, you will not remember the detail. Now, I appreciate the irony that I've just told you to do this for last week's lessons, and this is the only time I will ever ask you to do that for previous lessons. From now on, you need to do this straight away. If your notes are unclear, you need to rewrite them while the lesson's fresh in your head. Write them neatly. Now, for some of you, you like writing by hand. Some of you like typing your notes. That's fine. But make sure they've got appropriate detail and they're formatted nicely and well organised, saved in a sensible place, so that when you revisit them, you have logic. Every year I work with a student who gets to Christmas and they've just got a big pile of pieces of paper in their bedroom for all different subjects, no titles, no dates, and they don't know where to start. And that is a real pain for them getting these organised. Whether you have physical folders or electronic folders, either are fine. Please make sure that is organised and formatted from today. If you don't understand part of your notes, if you've written a word that you've forgotten what it means or whatever, use a textbook, your peers, Google Classroom or Teams to try and understand it. And if you've exhausted all that and you still don't understand, ask your teacher for help. Add a relevant explanation so when you use them for revision, you still understand them. If you've used, in maths, if you've used the word identity and you don't remember what it means, you probably won't remember again when you revisit it in 6 months. So please, at that point, go back, write a definition of identity so that if you don't remember it again in the future, then that explanation will help you remember it. So that's the first step. The second step, highlight key points and summarise. Again, this can be with a physical highlighter or it can be with a highlighter on your computer. Highlight the key points. So now your notes are clear, read through them. Underline or highlight keywords and then use the keywords or points to write a short summary of the topic. Trust me, doing this will help you remember it in the future. All the things I'm asking you to do are not things I've plucked out of my head. I have done significant research, educational psychology about the best way to memorize things. And the things I'm saying, such as test yourself, writing summaries, are the things that are recommended to help you remember. So with each topic filed in your notes, you should then have a short summary using those keywords or points, and that will really help you remember in future. Now, make connections. This is particularly important if you are hoping for A's or A star grades in your exams. One of the things you have to be able to do at A level or level 3 BTEC that you don't have to be able to, sorry, level 2 BTEC, that you don't have to be able to do as much at GCSE is connect topics. This will be harder to do now, but as you move through the course, you will have covered more topics. You need to think about connections to other topics. So after every lesson, read through your notes and think, how does the material you've just learned connect to other topics that you've learned in the past? This will also help you revise because you'll be revisiting those topics. So if you've just learnt about a particular period of history, a particular theme, see if that theme comes up in any of the other periods of history you've learnt. Jot down a connection and write down how it connects. When you do your final exams, there is an awful lot of the marks that are for the A's and A stars that you can't get unless you know how to connect different topics fluently. And even though you may not make these specific connections in those exams, practicing connecting topics is really powerful. So please take some time to make those connections. And as I said, write notes, add to your notes, write a note of how it connects to something else. Maybe make a little box to the side and put a little note in that box of how it connects to another topic. And that means A, you'll be learning the skill of making connections, practicing it, and B, as you go through, it will help you revise because you'll be reviewing all your topics to see what the connections are. Identify any background reading you would like or need to do. So when you're revisiting your notes, think about whether there are any parts of the topic you need to learn more about or you'd like to know more about, and make a note to do some extra reading. We have access to a lot of extra reading in the sixth form. Firstly, we have a lot of physical books. Our library is very well stocked. If you want to learn about something specific or you want more detail about something specific, please go and have a conversation with Mr. Bates, who is our librarian. He has a very good knowledge of the texts we have in the library, and we have a lot of texts that have been recommended by subject leaders to help you do background reading. So go and ask him and he will direct you to background reading. In the study centre, we have a number of physical copies of journals and books on the bookshelves that you can help yourself to and make some notes about additional reading. Mrs. Hosking will be able to direct you to those, so do speak to her if you need additional guidance. In addition to that, your subject teachers they might not, but most of your subject teachers may direct you to additional reading online. Please make it a priority to do that. Next time I speak to you, I'm going to be focusing on additional reading and how you do that. But for now, a really quick summary. Do the reading, make notes on it, and then when you make notes, add additional notes to the notes you're now making, your perfect notes, and reference where you got those notes from, those quotes from, because you may wish to revisit that text at a later time. But as I said, I'm going to talk to you about that in more detail next assembly. So, your aim for this week is to form good habits from the beginning. Please make sure after every lesson you're revisiting the lesson, and as I said, that you spend some time this week revisiting the lessons from last week. Make sure you've popped over to the library, looked at some background reading, and started your habit of doing background reading regularly. In addition to this, you will be set homework, maybe prep for baseline assessments, and you will be given some independent study in your lessons. So please make sure that you set good study habits from today. Your study periods are absolutely not for you to sit around chatting. You will regret it so much if you do that. Form good habits today, and basically you will be grateful for that for the next 2 years, sorry. So a quick reminder, after every lesson, read your notes, rewrite them if you need to, format them nicely. Ask for help if you don't understand anything. Highlight key points and summarise. And use your keywords to write a short summary of the topic. Make connections between the topic you've learnt and any other material. At this stage, you may be making connections to GCSE topics, and that's absolutely fine. Identify any background reading you need to do, and do that background reading. And that really will put you in a place to have revisited the lesson, and you should do that every lesson. Right then, that's all from me. Mentors, before we finish the session, please can you do a quick sweep to double check that the dress code and the lanyards are as good as they were last week? If anyone's late, can you make sure you log that? And have a really lovely week. Thank you so much for logging onto the assembly, and I'll see you all around this week. Bye-bye.